It is Sunday, May 31st, and it's getting pretty late with Jake Landau. We have a returning guest for you folks. You know him well, but there's a new and interesting fun fact about him today, which I found hard to believe as well, but I shit you not, it did happen. He's also here to talk, of course, about British Columbia politics. He's a commentator. He writes now a bit for Sitka Media as well. His name is Matt Kercher, and it is great to have him back on the show. Matt, how you doing?
Great, Jake. How are you been?
I'm doing pretty good. Now, Matt, I hear you recently became a father again. You had a second child.
Yeah. We had a beautiful little daughter named Celia.
Congratulations.
It was quite the surprise, as you've heard.
Well, why
We
is
were
it? What do you mean it's a surprise, Matt?
I don't mean it's surprise in the normal way. We didn't actually know that my girlfriend Catherine was pregnant. So I ended up sending her to the hospital one night with back pain, and she came home with a daughter.
You're not just we want to be clear, like you are not joking.
I am not joking. No.
You and your long-term partner who you already have one child with. So
Yes.
at least like parenthood itself is not a new thing for you.
No, not at all.
You were probably better equipped to deal with this kind of surprise than if it was the first one.
Oh, we said thank God it happened on the second child and not the first one, because it just, with the amount of everything that just kind of hits you all at once with a child.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing that and then having to also learn how to be a parent on top of that. Like you said, we at least had a little bit of all that already baked in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like you didn't know that neither of you knew that she was pregnant.
No. So yeah, neither of us knew she was pregnant.
You just send her to the hospital by herself because
Yeah.
you don't think you need to be there. It's just random pains, and then
Well,
suddenly you find out you have a fucking child.
So the reason I sent her to I know this sounds terrible to me, but the reason we ended up sending her to the hospital herself was because we had our 2-year-old son sleeping at home.
Right.
We had just gotten him to bed. And so
Yeah,
she's like,
so it makes sense. It's like
up.
one of you is looking after him, and like you think it's just a minor thing.
Yeah.
But like my question, one of my main did it not like show at all over the 9 months?
So she wasn't showing at all. She was actually losing weight over the time.
What?
Oh yeah. Yeah, now we get into the fun stuff, right, Jake?
Yeah, I'll admit, like losing weight over time is not an expected bit. Like,
no, so she was losing weight. She had been to the doctor's office twice, and they didn't catch it. She'd been to the hospital multiple times, and they didn't catch it. She'd taken multiple pregnancy tests, and they didn't catch it.
Oh my God.
So, like, yeah, I get normally the kind of idea is like, yeah, well, nothing's ever 100%. Like, you have to double check, and it's like, okay. But we did double check, and we triple checked, and we quadruple checked, and it's still no one picked it up.
Oh my
Actually, funny side note, we think the only one who actually knew about the baby was my son. Because he used to like lay down on her tummy and give her kisses and say hello to her tummy and stuff like that. And my partner just like, oh, he's being so nice to me. And then about 3 days after the birth, he went to go and do that again to her tummy, and lay down on her tummy and like say hello. And so he goes and puts his head down and goes, hello. And I guess he doesn't get the response he's looking for. So again, he goes, hello.
He can't hear.
And so he goes, oh, okay, bye-bye. And just kind of moves on. So he knew something was going on beforehand, but just doesn't understand that the baby isn't in her tummy anymore, and it came out.
Yeah, it's like I assume you haven't necessarily had the birds and the bees talk with him.
No.
But I never assumed, because my parents explained sex to me when I was 6 years old. They gave me like a storybook called Where Did I Come From? And literally, in just a very cartoony way, it's like, this is a sperm, this is an egg. It even had a cartoon sperm wearing a top hat and holding a box of chocolate shaped like a heart, and captioned, "Who could resist a sperm like this?" It's a great book. It's from, I think, like the 1970s. It's honestly, I think that's one of the best ways. Because the only problem was they then had to tell me the next day after I went and shared news at school that other parents didn't want their kids to know this yet. And I'm like, well, why? You told me, and I'm only 6 years old. Well, why can't they? You get what I mean. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, back. So I assume, like, you guys are hopefully coping okay now with your second kid. Is everyone is mom doing okay too?
Oh, mom's doing good. Yeah.
Cool.
She just told me to tell you how I found out, which was a call at 4 a.m,
Yeah.
waking
Like,
me up out of bed. Because like I said, we sent her to the hospital on her own, and I was thinking, like, I was expecting a call, thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna have to go pick her up at some point. But I wasn't expecting the you have a daughter.
yeah, it's not like I'm gonna be here overnight.
No, no, but it's we are coping pretty well. She's settled in a bit. I think once you get past those first couple weeks, it gets a little bit easier. Actually, I would say that our toddler Anthony takes up far more of our time than Celia does to an extent. He's a lot more work currently.
Oh, they have a lot of energy. It's like
Oh,
my father and my stepmother have my 3-year-old younger sister, and he's not one yet, a baby. So like more than half a year though.
mhm.
And it's like similar. It's like the baby. The main problem is like either they're sleeping or they're crying.
Yeah,
Like with the toddler, it's like go 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 go.
yeah, yeah. That's the stage Anthony's in. He doesn't stop. It just never stops, and he's a big kid, and he's got no caution.
Like,
So he just decides he sees something and says, "I want to do that," or "I want that," and guess what? He's going to get it no matter no matter what you say or do.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I had my Anthony moments as a kid.
Oh, he's just like me as a kid.
Oh yeah,
Like this is my karma coming home to roost.
yeah. Oh, I know. Eventually, it'll come home to hit me too. We'll have to give it maybe a decade or so, but it will come home to get me. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah. All I can say is again, the whole concept of you just randomly go to the hospital and there's a surprise baby.
The way I've kind of been describing the feeling to people, at least from a guy's perspective, is it's kind of like someone just knocked on your door and said, "Here's your kid that you didn't know you had, and now you have to be a dad to that kid." It's a great feeling. I wouldn't change this for the world. I wouldn't change any of this experience for the world. But the shock is very similar to something like that, I think.
And from your partner's perspective, I assume that like a pregnancy you don't notice happening in your body is probably easier than most pregnancies.
I think yes and no.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think well,
there
because
may
there
be
were
some physical symptoms that you're probably not
yeah, that's
attributing
exactly what
to it,
happened to
but
us. Yeah.
yeah. But in a lot of situations, I would also assume that like if you're not like noticing like, hey, there's something growing in there again, you got. I don't know. I'm a man, so I'm the worst
Yeah.
possible person to comment on this, and I encourage every woman listening to leave angry replies on this podcast.
Yeah, I think it's like there's still the side effects of the pregnancy, right? So instead of like the only difference is really you just think that these side effects are maybe something else.
Right.
So we were looking at other health things because she was experiencing a couple dizzy episodes and stuff like that
Oh,
during the
so there
pregnancy.
is anxiety because
Um,
you didn't know like what the cause of the it,
yeah,
and would you say I guess now there's a sense of relief that's like, oh, I'm not gonna die. There was just a kid growing inside me.
you know what's funny is when we originally like the very first faintings, like the dizzy spell she had, I was like, geez, I hope you're not pregnant. Turns out, um,
Oh god.
but
Yeah.
but yeah,
Have
like
you considered
I think
going
we're
into stand up because this is really good material. You can mine it from multiple sets, I would
oh
say.
man, I think you're right though that there is a less anxiety surrounding like just kind of general health because you understand why all this stuff was
Well,
happening
I mean,
now.
I know like how
Um,
women who are pregnant are expected to micromanage their bodies in all these ways, and that creates anxiety in and of
mhm.
itself. That's what I meant earlier for everyone listening.
And it does the lack of pregnancy though did create a little bit of anxiety in like the afterward because through a normal pregnancy you have a prenatal doctor, you're going
Right.
for checkups, you're doing all the proper
You don't
procedures.
really know enough about the health of the baby.
Yeah, we didn't do any of that because we didn't know. So there was a very like kind of up against the wall moment right when she was born where we had to go, okay, we need to get all this stuff sorted out and we need to get sorted out now. So I personally that week went a little neurotic, trying to get everything organized.
Yeah, it was
But
a bit of a rapid adjustment period.
yeah,
And like I said, it would have been worse if it was your first kid, but
yeah,
like you still got to make space in the house. You got to get a lot of shit you didn't have before, or that from your previous kid might not be fitting or might not be usable anymore. Overall, congratulations to you both. I'm happy that it was a happy surprise.
yeah, for sure. Hopefully, maybe who knows? Maybe she'll wake up here, and by the end of the podcast, you can say hi.
Hi. Uh, I will say one more thing, though, before we move on to our actual main meat of the episode, the political discussion of BC politics. Wouldn't it be funny if it happened again?
It is not happening again.
Yeah.
I am making that executive decision that this is not happening again. She was good for me. I'm happy. I got a boy and a girl
Congratulations
now.
on
I
your
got a
upcoming
perfect little family.
vasectomy. All right.
The appointment is booked.
L'chaim. Okay, moving on to our main topic of the day. In British Columbia, the BC Conservatives, after getting rid of John Rustad due to his increasing paranoia and stoking of infighting by persecuting his own party members, he was forced to resign. They just had their leadership contest, and last night it was announced on the, I believe, the fourth and final ballot of 5 total contestants. Kerry-Lynne Findlay is now the new leader of the British Columbian Conservative Party. Previously, she was a federal MP for the Conservative Party of Canada from 2011 to 2015, and then again from 2019 to 2025. She's currently married to a Mr.
Brent
Chapman, who is also a member of the Legislative Assembly in the British Columbia Legislature for the British BC Conservatives. So it's fair to call them a power couple at this point. Up until recently, she was on the federal side of things, but now she's going to be the leader in the party that her husband is going to be. She's not a caucus member yet. She's going to work on that, I assume. Somebody in caucus may have to step down or something. Yeah, she seems like a very interesting person when you dig into some stuff about her. So, Matt, would you like to give us some background on Kerry-Lynne and also her opponents in this contest?
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of people, the kind of vibe I'm getting from the outcome of this contest is a lot of people who weren't paying super close attention to the race weren't really expecting Kerry-Lynne Findlay to come out on top. The kind of general front runner of the race had been Caroline Elliott. More of a kind of sleeker campaign that she ran, a little bit very, very heavy on Indigenous rights, but a kind of a general more in line with what you would see with a kind of right-wing BC campaign.
So when you say very heavy on Indigenous rights, you mean
I mean very heavy
them.
on repealing Indigenous rights, yeah. But every single person running in this race was against Indigenous rights in the province, wanted to repeal and take a step back. Kerry-Lynne Findlay, of all the people they could have picked, is probably the worst option, besides maybe Yuri Fulmer. She is a very socially conservative candidate. Her main focus on this campaign has been, again, repealing Indigenous rights and DRIPA, but as well as like social conservative issues. So things like removing Soji from schools and stuff like that. She's going to she played very, very well to a kind of hard right conservative base in this race. I'm not certain she's going to be able to play in the urban centers and the suburbs of this province.
And let's go a bit about the other 4 candidates in this race, the losers, and we'll go in order of how badly they lost. At the bottom is Peter Millibar, who in the first round only got 10.5% of the vote. less than 1,000 points. And I'm not going with points here, folks, because they actually can go in fractions somehow, I presume. So we're just going to stick with the percentages. Peter Millibar, I believe the only thing I know about him right now is that in one interaction between him and Kerry-Lynne Findlay, didn't Kerry-Lynne tell Peter that his indigenous wife is a conflict of interest when discussing reconciliation?
Yes, she did, and her supporters
That
have defended
seems
that as well.
racist.
It's very racist. And
So, like,
they tried to
these pink-skinned motherfuckers are allowed to have opinions about colonizing, but indigenous people aren't allowed to have opinions against colonizing.
well, and the way KLF framed it too was she framed it as though his wife was making major decisions for the Kamloops band. When in reality, she has like a part-time job as an office administrator for the band office. Like, this is not some major conflict of interest. This is just Kerry-Lynne Findlay riling up the base and being racist towards what probably the most moderate guy running in the race.
Also,
He
she
was
literally cannot complain about having spouses in political roles.
no. Her spouse is best known for hiding in a closet for fleeing reporters by hiding in a closet when faced with his racist comments that he had made in the past.
Oh yeah, let's before we go back to the other candidates, Mr. Brent Chapman had a bit of a controversy when in November 2015 he described Palestinians as inbred, walking, talking, breathing time bombs, which I would politely describe as hate speech punishable by criminal law. Not that he appears to have been. Uh, Apparently, in 2024, he disavowed it, and I'm like, homie, that was not an accident.
Yeah, no,
That's terrifying.
during the last election, when we were talking about racism within the BC Conservative Party, he was the standard bearer for racism within the BC Conservative Party. And yeah, he can say he's disavowed this stuff. But when the media does actually try to hold his feet to the fire, what does he do? He goes and runs away. He hides. He pushes his staffers out to deal with it. Like, if this is the husband of the person who just became the leader of the BC Conservatives, and we've already kind of seen how she deals with the media as well.
Right.
Like,
And like
this is what we can come to expect.
to add to his quote, he actually referred to Palestinians in full as little inbred walking, talking, breathing time bombs, figuratively and quite literally, end quote. Figuratively and quite literally, like you
This
don't
guy's still an
you don't
MLA.
have to do all that. Like yeah, like, it's not. I'm not just gonna do hate speech. I need everyone to know I mean it.
Yeah.
Also, the little there is disturbing because he implies they're children who are going to grow up into terrorists, and that's why the children are a problem too. And I'm like that. We all know where that kind of language goes. It's so yeah, I would say that your spouse, to an extent, does reflect on you as a person. I personally would not marry somebody who I have core disagreements with about basic respect for other human beings. Like, I would assume if you marry a racist, you are willing to tolerate racism and are thus a racist yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption.
yeah. But moving back on to Miss Findlay's opponents, Peter Millibar goes off at the very bottom of the first ballot. Right after him on the first round, was just above that cutoff was Yuri Fulmer, who had 13% of the first round vote. I don't have access to the second and third round counts, so I don't know exactly which order people dropped off in.
Oh, I know that off the top of my head, so we can
Oh,
pick up from here then.
okay, so who is the second person to drop off?
So the second person to drop off was Yuri Fulmer.
Okay, so it's still going in that order then.
Yeah, his claim to fame was striking a deal with Dallas Brody's 1BC,
Hmm.
an electoral agreement, so that in the next election, if Fulmer had won, there would have been 5 seats in the province where the Conservatives wouldn't have run candidates, and BC would have been free to
So
run in
his
those ridings as the
platform
Conservative
was
option.
an electoral cooperation agreement with one BC, where they would
Essentially, yeah.
he would carve out part of the province and say, "This is your territory, the rest is our territory." Something kind of like what in Australia the Liberals and the National Party did.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, very similar. And apart from that, his platform was relatively a mixed bag of like hard right nonsense and some just old like BC liberal kind of ideology. I think Yuri Fulmer kind of came into this race expecting to run as a moderate candidate, quickly realized that lane was taken up, and moved hard right as he could, even if it wasn't personally his own ideology.
I'm actually noting apparently Yuri Fulmer was born in Australia, so perhaps he did get the idea for that kind of agreement from Australian politics. We don't know
It's
that,
it's very
but
possible.
it's certainly. I mean, it's where I got got that idea in the past. It's where I
Mhm.
first learned, and also he was born there, so he's probably more familiar with it than I am. But third round,
So third to drop off was Ian Black.
yes.
He is a former
And on the
Campbell
first
government
round
minister.
ballot, he got 20.3% of the vote
Yes. Yeah, I think he dropped off around, I think he had around 30%, somewhere in there.
when he
It
dropped
was,
off in the third round.
yeah, it was very, very close between him and Kerry-Lynne Elliott. It could have went either way, honestly. And I think if Black had actually beaten out Elliott, that final ballot might have been different, and we might have a different
Mm.
result.
The fun of
Um,
ranked ballots.
but Black was kind of coming into the race. He was very much the BC Liberal standard bearer. I mean, former Gordon Campbell minister, came in a moderate lane. Throughout the race, he did move to the right, and I think that's why he experienced more success than Millibar did. Um, he seemed to be able to consolidate some of that right wing vote while maintaining his more moderate vote from the old BC Liberal Party.
Do you think that Millibar's having a wife who's indigenous may have hurt him compared to Mr. Black?
I think so. Honestly, like it shouldn't.
Oh yeah, well, I'm
It
not
really,
saying
really
that in
shouldn't.
that I think it's a good
But
thing, but if
I
there
don't
is a
think,
racial trend, it's important to
yeah,
note.
I don't like BC is often kind of viewed by the rest of Canada as like the kind of hippie, sunshines and rainbow province, right? And that's not necessarily true. We have really significant issues with racism in this province, particularly around
There's a
Indigenous
similar
racism.
dynamic in California where people are like, "Oh, they're like hippies on sunshine." I'm like, "Bro, you haven't been in Northern California."
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, go to the interior of BC. Don't just stick by the coast. See what this province is really, really like. Um, and yeah, Indigenous racism in this province is significant right now, particularly with all the discussions around DRIPA.
right, and
So I
even David
absolutely,
Eby and the BC NDP are now like catering to the right-wing
yeah,
viewpoint that indigenous rights need to be curtailed in a
yeah,
province where the vast majority of land has no treaty either from the colonial era or the modern era.
yeah. So, should it happen? No. Do I think it had an impact in BC conservative circles? Yeah, I do. I do think it's had an impact.
All right. Well, that's pretty grim.
Mhm.
But going on to our final two candidates, there was Kerry-Lynne Elliott and the winner, Kerry-Lynne Findlay. In the first round, Kerry-Lynne led with 30.5% of the vote to Kerry-Lynne Elliott's 25.8% of the vote. But on the fourth and final round, it was extremely tight. On the final round, once all the votes from deranked or candidates who fell off the ballot were reallocated, Kerry-Lynne Findlay beat Kerry-Lynne Elliott 51% to 49%. That is a very tight margin. So, tell me finally a bit about Kerry-Lynne Elliott.
So I think Kerry-Lynne Elliott kind of ran, like I said earlier, about the slickest campaign in the race. She was one of the very first people out of the gate to be running for the party. She absolutely did hit the ground running. She did run a good campaign. Like, I don't agree with any of the politics or the policies that she ran on, but the campaign itself
Well, she came
was
2 percentage
organized.
points from winning,
Yeah.
so like she clearly did run a very good
Yeah,
campaign.
it was
Like,
organized, it was well run, it was well communicated. She was very available to media and everything like that. So Um, I think that Caroline Elliott, had she won the leadership, would have been the candidate that would have moderated a little bit in a general, and then absolutely wiped the floor with the NDP. Just having that kind of strong woman leading a BC Conservative Party that's maybe not as right wing as the party was under Rustad, where the party almost won the majority government that they were seeking. Yeah, I think she would have absolutely mopped the floor with the NDP.
Hmm. But nonetheless, she has lost very narrowly. The leader of the BC Conservatives will be Miss Kerry-Lynne Findlay. Now let's go. We've already talked a bit about what her husband said, what she said. Apparently, in 2001, she was personally bankrupted after a legal battle with the Musqueam First Nation.
Yeah, I think that's in regards to a little bit of her like private life. She actually spoke about that on the campaign trail. It was in regards to a previous land dispute issue between the Musqueam and the people of her community. The way she tells it is that basically everything worked out in the end. She was able to stand up and defend the property rights that or her community was seeking, and everything was okay. Now, I don't actually know enough about that specific instance to actually comment on it or not enough or not. But I can say that she has used that instance to give herself credibility on the issue of Indigenous rights, and on the issue of property rights in the province.
And by property rights, we mean like colonial property rights,
Yeah,
like
yeah, we mean by
the
like private
ability
property
to
rights.
assert that the private property setup can override indigenous land, even on places where there was no treaty allowing for
Yeah,
indigenous title. And on another instance, I'm looking when she was federal MP in 2020. She apparently got some backlash because she retweeted George Soros' conspiracy theory about the liberals. And also, apparently, she voted in favor of a federal law that would have made it an indictable or summary offense to perform abortion in certain instances.
yeah, she is very socially conservative. Like, there's no ways around it. She's a very socially conservative person. This is the way that the BC Conservatives have decided they want to go. I don't think it's going to work out. But if we want to talk about scandals with her, she's got one right now.
Yes, and
Um,
I was about to lead into that. I wanted to like build up to the big and current brewing one, but
yeah,
thank you for your
popping your
kind.
bubble.
Yeah, almost had a smooth segue there. Anyway, she lost her federal reelection in 2025, uh, and part of this wasn't attributed by the media to controversy over her husband's past comments a decade prior about Palestinians. I don't know whether that did tip it over the line, but if it did, good. I would like racism against Palestinians to be a disqualifier. Hopefully, it can disqualify him too. But nonetheless, election in May 2026, Elections Canada announced that Miss Findlay has under investigation over expenses from that bid, and she apparently received 75,000 Canadian dollars in undeclared and unpaid services from a corporation in exchange from promised federal contracts, according to the allegations of Elections Canada. In response, apparently, though, Findlay is threatening to sue media who repeat these claims, and I greatly appreciate that. But, like, listen, Miss Findlay, I just want to say I've made it clear that you clearly don't agree with the claims, and we'll see what happens in court, ma'am.
Yeah, no, I was very much going to say these are alleged charges.
Yeah,
um, but no, so it is alleged that she basically did a quid pro quo at the federal.
which would be bad.
Had some foreign nationals working on her campaign who were not registered within Canada. So those are the two kind of main allegations that she's facing.
Hmm.
This happened. There was actually a bit of uh, a fuss within the Conservative Party about whether or not they would allow, because of in the leadership race. Um, and they eventually did decide to let her continue, and she's now the leader of the party. But that doesn't mean that this stuff isn't going to come back to bite her in the ass in a few months.
Right. And like, because I mean, like, this is very serious and it's at the federal level, so
Very.
there's no way for it to get like politically waved away. And
Mhm.
I don't know that the BC NDP would do so, but I could see them getting bullied into it by media saying, "Oh, don't you want a fair fight?" But it's just out of the hands of BC politics altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you see the way? Did you see the press conference she called in response to these allegations?
I have not seen that actual press conference itself.
She, she got up to a press conference, spoke for maybe, I think it was like 15 minutes or something like that, and then took zero questions from the media.
Hmm. We do like zero
So
question press conferences.
yeah, so just when like speaking from a do these allegations have any weight position, you would think you would want to dispel all of that at every opportunity you could have. Um, she doesn't seem interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, it's like I can see why some lawyers would advise their client not to talk about an ongoing investigation, but the counter argument is that in this case, where you're like a politician and a public figure and your reputation is as valuable as actually being a free person, then you kind of, if you have exculpatory evidence that you can actually use to establish that this isn't what it appears to be, there's no reason to hide it.
Mhm.
Like, just
Yeah,
show it. Yeah.
yeah,
It,
exactly.
like, hell, I'm not even a politician, but like, if I was accused of doing something wrong, if I had proof, which you might not necessarily have, but like, if you can prove something didn't happen, then it reminds me, like, you know, that video on social media right now of that woman who got pulled over by a cop for holding a phone in her right hand while driving, and she starts
Yes.
laughing and holds up her stump without a hand because there's no hand. She does not have a right hand. She has an arm without a hand. And the cop kept on trying to press it, and like finally it got dismissed, like because the cop realized if he showed up in court, the judge was going to have him killed. But like, you get what I
Oh,
mean. Like
yeah,
if you can prove that proving your innocence isn't how it works. You got to prove guilt in a court. But if you can show innocence in any way in the public court of opinion, it's certainly something I advise people to do
yeah,
because, you know, having a good reputation is helpful.
yeah. No, it's just it's incredible, honestly. As someone in BC who's watched BC politics over the last like, I don't know, 5 years or so, to watch us go from what was like a center right BC Liberal Party to this crazy hard right BC
Oh,
Conservative
there's very
Party
much
that's
been a
now full of social
realignment
conservatives that
in
has a scandal every 2 months
yeah.
breaking somehow. And like Kerry-Lynne Findlay being the leader of this party too, this is not going to solve their caucus issues either.
Hmm.
Like they're still going to have those same caucus issues that they've had over the
It's
past
just
2 3
instead of
years.
losing people to one BC, you might lose them in a different direction.
Well, they've been losing them to both directions
Yeah.
already. Like they chose to go with Rustad. Rustad was pretty hard right. Rustad was a pretty social conservative. Rustad's a climate denier.
Right.
Um, they chose to go with someone who's further right than Rustad.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing is that the BC NDP have moved to the right as well. They're a firmly centrist party, I would say, at this
Oh,
point. Like they
yes.
don't have much of a left wing bone left in their body, and the BC Conservatives have moved further to the right from the center right position that the BC Liberals used to hold. The BC NDP have carved up the left side of that center right branch, the center part. And on the actual left wing side of things, you now have the BC Greens under Emily Lowen, who appear to be making a stronger case for themselves than previous BC Green parties. I Like, and it feels like like I said, I feel like there's been a political realignment, like, and the BC NDP may take the role that the federal Liberals have in their own sphere.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think this is the kind of encapsulation of the BC's NDP's project to become the natural governing party of the province that they've been attempting since the 90s. This is the full vision realized. This is what they wanted. This is always what they wanted. They want a crazy right wing so that they can kind of absorb everything in the center, soft left, soft right, and centrist politics in the province, and just be that natural governing party that governs for 20 plus years and then maybe loses for 4 and then comes right back. That's their goal.
Right.
Has that resulted in any better politics in BC? No, it's resulted in far, far worse politics in BC.
Right.
But that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I can see why, like, the federal NDP under Avi Lewis can have some struggles with certain provincial wings, because to be quite frank, those provincial wings seem to want to be a different party and only keep the name and the color just because it gives them some brand recognition.
Yeah, we talked about this last time. I think that I was on. We
Oh
talked
yeah,
about
it's certainly more prominent with, say, the Alberta and Saskatchewan NDP, but I mean, I think it's also to an extent true with the BC NDP. Like, just because they're in BC does not mean they're progressive in that way.
No, absolutely. Like, it is very much the same extent to the BC NDP. They don't want to be associated with the federal NDP.
And they're into
They just kind of realize it's necessary.
And they're into national resource extraction, often at the expense of Indigenous people, and this makes it's very hard to distinguish between them and other parties that support the settler colonial enterprise, like when they do that.
Well, they fully do support the settler colonial enterprise. That is the BC NDP. They do support it. They're bought in. Anything that they talk about when it comes to like Indigenous rights and stuff like that is just window dressing. It really is. And we can say that because the BC NDP passed UNDRIP, and when it started having consequences on actual laws within the province because they didn't do anything after passing UNDRIP to implement it, they walked it back. And they said, oh, no, this isn't what we expected.
We didn't actually think that we were going to change anything with reconciliation.
Yeah, we didn't think our legislation would have consequences.
We thought we could just shake hands with the Indigenous people and then keep exploiting them. Well, I have no... I think I've said this in previous conversations with you, but I just have no patience for this kind of attitude. Like,
no,
it's like reconciliation fundamentally does mean there are going to be changes that need to be made to society, and if you don't like it, too fucking bad.
Yeah, and the NDP wanted to make it look as though they were doing something, but didn't want to actually have to do anything. So
and now the lip service has fully fallen away because with the pink-skinned colonial society and it's not a priority anymore. Like, no one cares. No. Like they cared about it when they were kind of shamed into it and they thought it could make them feel good to do some token efforts. But when they realized they actually would have to, address real inequalities, they were like, fuck that, we're gonna keep being assholes.
Yeah, they're just not interested in real change.
No.
Like, they're just not. Like you said, they've bought into the settler colonial project. That is who they are. There's no getting around that. Like, it's just who the party is. It's what they've become. This is where they want to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, best of luck to the BC NDP and the BC Conservatives in catering to the I hate Indigenous people, but I can't phrase it like that, just in a slightly less aggressive way, like voter base. Like, I don't know.
There really is only one party in this province that's standing up for Indigenous rights at this point, and that's the BC Green Party. Coincidentally, they're also the only party standing up against, say, AI data center development, or the FIFA World Cup that's coming on its way here.
I don't mind having all the good policies in one party. It makes it easy to know who to vote for.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. I just wish that they were a little stronger than they are currently. But hey, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's like, would you like to vote for the Oil and the Reef Party or the Free Kittens for Everybody Party? It's a hard choice.
Yeah.
I can't swim in the beach anymore, but I'm making money off our suffering. Huh.
I'm already seeing the arguments of, oh, you can't vote for the Greens because they won't win anything, so you have to vote for the BC NDP. And you see those arguments when the
Oh,
BC NDP
I
is.
hate that argument. I yell at people when they try that one on me. I'm like, well, they're not going to win if we don't vote for them. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I'm voting for them.
Well, like I say, those arguments always come out when people are scared, and the Greens have been gaining momentum slowly, albeit, but they have been gaining momentum. And if the election is as close as it was last time, it doesn't take much more than a couple points to knock the NDP out of that pole position.
Oh yeah, it's like you don't need to win government. You just need to win a controlling interest in the legislature,
Yeah.
then you're in like fun.
Yeah. Well, and look at let's take a look at something like Clean BC, right? This is something that the BC NDP love to talk about. They love to hype up Clean BC. Why do we have Clean BC? We have Clean BC because of the 2017 CASA agreement in which the BC Greens forced the BC NDP to implement Clean BC.
The CASA agreements don't seem to be a good deal for junior partners. The Liberals took credit for the federal NDPs forcing them to do stuff. The BC NDP took credit for the BC Greens forcing them to do stuff. I would just not have an agreement, and I would just, like, twist their arm or threaten an immediate election every single time.
And I do think that is kind of the tack that the BC Greens are taking now, right? Like, when this government was first formed, there was an unofficial official agreement between the Greens and the BC NDP that the Greens would vote for their confidence motions or whatever. The Greens didn't get too much out of it. But as soon as Emily Lowen became leader, she ended that agreement immediately. They're taking a much more antagonistic approach towards the government now. And I think that's the right approach with all the moves the government has been making.
And it'll probably help distinguish them with voters. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
No, we'll see how things go for all three parties as we get closer and closer to the next provincial election in British Columbia. But this realignment is very interesting to watch, and I'm sure we'll have you back on again to show soon to talk about it. Matt, thanks for coming back on the program. It's always a pleasure to have you. Best of luck to you and your partner with your new daughter, and yeah, I hope you have a good one.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great. It's always good to come on here. I love talking to about BC politics with people here, especially given that I'm sure your audience is spread out across the country. So it's always cool to be that guy.
Oh yeah, I always love highlighting different stories from around the continent. Alrighty, Matt Kercher, everybody, a political commentator and columnist from British Columbia. And that'll do it for this week's episode. Thank you for listening, everybody. You can catch the next episode, the same place you caught this one, wherever you get your podcasts. And we will see you next Sunday. Cheers. This is the end of the show. Bye.